Yes.
Technology is an odd one because I've searched. I can't find iPhone in the Bible anywhere.
Yeah.
So there's no reference for kind of the new technology and new society that's been created in the last 10 years.
Yes.
We can't live without technology. And the funniest part is the oldest generation who said, we don't need technology. We don't need technology. This is crazy. No one's going to use the internet. They're the most addicted to phones.
Right.
I'll walk in and my mom will be like, she never used her phone. And now I go in there and she's just all day long. It's like, oh, I got to take a picture. I got to put it on Facebook. It's like, Mom, if you post it 3 hours later, no one knows. No, they know. I got to put this picture up now. We rely on it so much. It's become a huge part of our lives. I think it's jading our view on reality. I think it's a huge problem for the future generation because they don't think for themselves. I think even people within the populace now, they don't want to think for themselves. They want someone to tell them how to think.
Mm-hmm.
How do you separate that? And how does God think about technology and our adoption of it?
This is one of my happy questions. Because going back to how you put it at the beginning of there's nothing in the Bible about technology. Well, I regard technology as a form of wealth. And if you said, is there anything about wealth in the Bible? Yeah, there's an awful lot about wealth. So technology is, so if I've got iPhone and that iPhone basically has 100,000 servants on it. I can have an Anglo-Saxon scholar servant on it. I can have a Latin translation servant on it. I can have a map guy, navigator on it. I can, I've got all these servants.
Entertainers. Jesters.
Cat videos. I've got all these servants on this phone. And Nebuchadnezzar would have given half of his Babylonian kingdom to have one of these things. Right. And everybody's walking around with one in their pocket, right? High school kids. So it's like this. I would regard it not only as wealth, but as extreme wealth. Okay. Now, what the Bible teaches about wealth is that it is not inherently wicked, but there's a bias towards self-sufficiency and forgetting God. So in Deuteronomy 8, in fact, all through Deuteronomy, wealth is God's gift to the people of Israel, and wealth is the thing that's going to tempt them to stray from Him. So God gives us gifts, which if we abuse, we drift away from Him. And that's what's happening with this technological wealth. I can't believe the things I can do with my Bible search program.
I searched iPhone, it didn't show up.
Right. That's right. But I could have told you that. So I can't believe the tools that are just, and I love them. At the same time, there's a temptation that the human heart has to drift away from dependence on God because of our wealth. So at the end of Deuteronomy, it says, Jeshurun waxed fat and kicked. Cotton Mather, the Puritan writer, said, faithfulness begat prosperity, and the daughter devoured the mother. So faithfulness causes prosperity, and the daughter prosperity devours the mother. Well, that's the way it is with technology. I want to make sure that I'm not burning daylight with technology, just scrolling. And I want to make sure that the technology that I take up is a force multiplier for my productivity, which it has been. So I can, I've got this thing on this word processor. I can click this thing and dictate to it. I don't have to type. I can read a quotation out of a book and it just, okay, that is a gift from God. But if we start to think like the tech execs in Silicon Valley do think that they are God, right? That's where everything goes seriously wrong, and where people are just sucked into the world of tech, and they're not receiving it with thanksgiving. They're not using it to remind them to pray. They're not using it to, if someone says, I'm standing in line at the post office and I'm doing my Bible reading. Well,
Amazing.
That's great. That's wonderful. And people, if you look at a family that goes out to dinner and everybody's sitting around the table in the restaurant on their phones.
Very commonplace these days.
And you say, well, okay, something's wrong with that. But if you had a family, like one of the things, back in the day when in the 70s, pre-internet, pre-iPhone, pre-all that, I'd go to work and Nancy had a phone at home with a cord attached to the wall. And I had a phone in my office and we would talk maybe once a day and I'd come home maybe at lunch, maybe in the evening. And now with kids and grandkids and people all over the place, we have a family chat group with Nancy and me and the adult kids. We also have an extended chat group with all the grandkids, the whole family. And if someone's shopping in Spokane, they can send a picture. Hey, do you want me to pick this up for you? Our people are chatting with one another all day long. It's like we're together all the time. So you can take the technology and use it to isolate yourself from your people, but you can also take the same technology and use it to tie yourself in a tighter bond with your people. So now, of course, there's sometimes it will be one thing and it will look like another. Like you and your wife been on the road all day and you sit down in a restaurant and you both are on your phones and you have to make a joke to the waitress. We're not texting each other. Well, what we're doing is we're catching up on our email and because all the people back home done it. Is this cultivating relationship with actual people or is it pushing you further and further into your cocoon where you're just isolated?
And technology is tough, especially the consumption of technology, especially the consumption of things like news and information about the world around you, because the algorithm serves you almost what you want to see. It's really hard to know kind of what's on the other side. You don't know what's outside of your own individual matrix, right? We have procured information and we live in our own digital ghettos, right? We don't know what's on the other side. So we live via confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is everything. Now, I listen to him because a lot of people listen to him. Oh, this must be a legitimate take because look how many people looked at this.
Right.
And the tech overlords can decide this is important. We'll just make a lot of people look at it. Right. All of a sudden that becomes law, that becomes rule, that becomes the way people think and perceive. I think a lot of what we do is just try to question everything all the time. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. It's just to encourage people to start thinking for themselves.
Right.
Because our minds are so fragile, so easily molded. We're seeing that more now than ever. The mass psychosis of COVID was a real thing. People blindly complied with no rational or logic whatsoever. How do you think people can stay away and keep free from kind of this control that you can't see, you can't feel it, but people know it's going on. Right. Inherently, you know.
Right. So the bad guys are always going to want to manipulate and control the populace. So when I was a kid, there were 3 networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and usually one local station, right? And that's just the way it was. And it wasn't confirmation bias in the sense that I got fed the stories I wanted to see. I only saw the stories they wanted me to see, right? So everybody was sort of force-fed a certain way. And now that we've got this radical liberty to go to our own news aggregator websites and so on, you're very right. The tech overlords have figured out a way with the algorithms to feed you more and more and more of what you want. And I think that we have to fight that and find responsible news aggregator sites that will feed from different directions. And we have to self-consciously work on that. But it's not like this is a new thing. The masters of the lords of the earth have always wanted to control public opinion. And they've done that from time immemorial. And with the advent of the tech world and AI, they're going to use that. And I think we ought to be having people looking to right? Algorithm busters and, AI disruptors.
I think I saw a talk, I think it was Jack Dorsey, and he said that he believes people should have the ability to choose their own algorithm so that you're not forced into a main algorithm, but you can choose at least the matrix in which you're served. Because at least there's a little bit of freedom of choice there. Right now, you go on to your Instagram or your TikTok, your Facebook, whatever you doom scroll in, because everyone's got preferred doom scroll device. They choose for you what you see, and they say it's based on your preference, but it's really not. It's chosen, not selected. He had the idea that maybe you should be able to choose your own matrix, that you choose your reality. It's almost like a story is written and you choose your own adventure,
Right.
But it's a different way of looking at it. I never considered that before, the ability to choose your own algorithm. Or is it better that we just don't have algorithms and we just give back people freedom of choice?
Yeah, but if you want to ban algorithms, then you have to have an algorithm czar who
Going to regulate that?
is going to regulate that. And I would bet you
That's
$10 that he's going to have his own algorithm going.
Only $10?